Om Kayena vacha manasyendrayirva Bhutyatmanava prakriti swabhava Karomi adyat sakalam paresma Narayana samarpayami Narayana samarpayami.
Dear Seeker of Truth, welcome. This is a very auspicious moment. We are going to talk about Bhakti. Bhakti, divine love. So we are going to talk about Bhakti as the essence of all spiritual paths, as the soul of all spiritual paths, and also as a path in itself, Bhakti Yoga. So this is a work made by sage Shandilya, the Shandilya Bhakti Sutras. Not much is known about this Shandilya, only that he was a sage, a God-realized being that gone through many other philosophies and finally got to the nectar-like Bhakti as the soul of it all. So Sage Shandilya had a very intellectual approach also. He was concerned about getting from the different authorities, the different scriptures, the validity, the importance of bhakti as a spiritual path. So he gathered that all and shared it. So may you all find divine love in your hearts. May you all be blessed by this auspiciousness. May you all find God. Moving on, Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, Sutra 50, sorry. Love and attachment or rendering service even to the vibhutis, persons possessing introspective grandeur, glory, might, sublimity, beauty, or loveliness. All these are qualities of living beings, therefore they cannot be called devotion in its true sense and absolutely cannot help for attaining final beatitude in one's life. So this is about devotion for the Supreme Being, the one that can grant that final beatitude, and for no other despite the level of their powers or whatever. So it ought to be remembered that worship, devotion, and affection for other living beings, no matter how exalted they may be or what excellent virtues and mystical powers they may possess, it's not equivalent to worshipping, rendering service, and having devotion and affection for the Supreme Being himself or his manifestations. And his manifestations are many. Not only the bodies, the name, the stories, the qualities, the awakened ones, all these are manifestations of God. This verse cautions the devotee that he should be very careful while selecting the object of his adoration, worship, and devotion, for a manifested form of the Supreme Being is quite different from adoring and showing respect to other exalted souls. So the worship and devotion to the manifested form of the Supreme Being is much different than to show respect to other exalted souls. It comes with the reverence, the respect that it is due to the Supreme Being. It's not common, not ordinary. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, those who are devoted to other gods and worship them with unwavering faith, such worship is not recognized as the right method or worship, even though all these forms are my own images. Such forms of worship deprive the worshipper of the direct access to me, and hence they are also deprived from the spiritual reward of immortality. Whereas my devotees come to me and are free from the cycle of transmigration, those who worship other gods go to them and remain trapped in this cycle. Because the object of your adoration makes you go to it. You can look at this in the world, in your life. Wherever you're looking, whatever you're observing, whatever you're going to, that is the object of your adoration. Is it God? So, in this case, if you worship the deities, whatever, you go to them. And they don't have the power to grant immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Oh no, I already read this one. So, Sutra 51. Service to a king or waiting for the king's favors or gambling has been prohibited. This is against devotion. So this has been prohibited by the scriptures. So let's see why. Service to a king is prohibited in the scriptures because such service needs cunning, deceit, and conceit to be successfully done. So in today's world, what is these jobs that need deceit, conceit, and cunning so that can be done? Majority of jobs, salesmen, everything is about sales these days. Everything is about selling something. And all this is full of deceit. So whatever job you are forced to be deceitful, conceitful, and you have to be cunning and play tricks on others, this is not suitable. It has been prohibited. For the devotee, in this case, the real king is God, must be careful not to engage in activities that are deceitful in nature. Yes. In Ramcharitmanas says, if one says that he is my devotee but expects anything from others, say, what faith does he have in me? How can he claim to be my true devotee if he can't rely on me alone for his well-being and has to seek favors from others? So waiting for favors from kings or any other person, this also has been prohibited. Sutra 52. Is it to be the cause in relation to Vasudeva? This is probably a discussion somewhere that Vasudeva, which was the father of Krishna, so is it same have devotion to Vasudeva? Is it falls in the same categories or not? Is it also prohibited? No, because Vasudeva is the self-son manifestative form of the Supreme God himself. So Vasudeva was also an incarnation of God. In the Gita, there's a passage that says, I am Vasudeva among the Vrishnis. So God is saying, among the Vrishnis, that race, I am Vasudeva, that clan. Sutra 53. That is the established truth instituted in the most authentic literatures. So again, pointing out that worshipping Vasudeva is considered a genuine bhakti also. The Bhagavatam says, the Vedas ultimately treat of Bhagavan Vasudeva. The sacrifices themselves aim at the attainment of Vasudeva. The various yogas eventually lead to Vasudeva, and all sorts of rituals too have their end in Vasudeva. Sri Rudra, Shiva, says to the Prachetas. He is indeed dear to me who has directly taken recourse to Bhagavan Vasudeva, who is beyond the triple guna of Prakriti and also who is superior to all the jivas, including the celestial beings. So how then can he, Vasudeva, be described among the preeminent manifestations? The answer is the next sutra. That is due, Sutra 54, that is due to his being the best among the Vrishni heroes. So in the Vishnu Puran, Sri Parashar says, men listening to the story of the race of the Yadus, which was the race of Vasudeva, will get rid of the impurity of their hearts, for in this race, for the said race was born the Supreme Godhead Vasudeva. Sutra 55. In the same way, bhakti is to be recognized when applied to other manifestations of the Supreme Being. So devotion towards the other well-known manifestations like Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Sriram, etc., who also like Vasudeva possess the characteristics of Brahman, will certainly give liberation. So devotion to manifestations. These are the scriptures of India. So these are the names and forms known in these scriptures, which are the authority. They don't speak of any other cultures. It is a part of India's culture. So other scriptures, faith, and the devotees will attest to their cultural manifestations. So, Nirguna Brahman, these terms. The ultimate goal in life is to achieve spiritual union with the Supreme Spirit, which is called Brahman in Hinduism. Different seekers throughout the world focus on different features of Brahman. Brahman is described in two ways by the Hindus, as Nirguna Brahman and as Saguna Brahman. Nirguna Brahman. The term Nirguna Brahman refers to the supreme formless being, Brahman, which is beyond time and space. It is that ultimate reality, the supreme being, which has no particular form or name, and it's present within all living beings and everywhere, that which is beyond the gunas. Just a concept for your conceptualization, those who don't know. So in the Taittiriya Upanishad says that one who knows Brahman reaches the highest. Satya, reality, truth, is Brahman. Gyan, knowledge, is Brahman. Ananta, infinite, is Brahman. Nirguna Brahman allows to focus on Brahman's eternal qualities rather than on his different names and forms. Closing their eyes to the world, they concentrate on the ultimate. And then Saguna Brahman. Another way that Brahman is perceived by its own grace is as Saguna Brahman, also called Narayana, the primordial being, the ultimate reality. And it's just a name for that. Brahman presents himself by grace through a form, identity, and purpose, which may vary over time and place. And it does vary over time and place. Every living creature is in a relationship with God, knowingly or unknowingly. Narayan, the primordial being, presents itself in a form perceived through the spiritual divine eye or through the physical eyes when he himself incarnates among his devotees with different divine purposes. This enables devotion from the hearts of the devotees and grants their hearts desires for the contemplation of the form of their beloved Lord. For the dual, for the dual non-dual relationship, which is the natural urge of the soul, God communion, self-realization. So the contemplation of a form makes it easier for the love from a human being which is used to having a relationship with other forms. This is a way of having a relationship with God, a loving relationship, and growing in that direction. The names and forms vary according to culture, place, and time, but as long as the devotee is addressing the Supreme Being, it is the Supreme Being, with devotion and reverence. So, having access to these names and forms and stories, it is very enriching, but the relationship is there directly, should be established. Some seek the blessings of deities for worldly desires, and that is not the real pure devotion and not directed for the Supreme Being, and it doesn't bring final beatitude, God realization, or self-realization. All love, devotion, and surrender, which is directed towards the Supreme Being, no matter in what way or form, the Supreme Being bestows himself for the devotee. Pure devotion brings God, remember that, in the form that the devotee chooses. So that devotion towards the deities doesn't bring the final liberation. Or jump the line. So no matter in what way or form the Supreme Being bestows himself to the devotee, or in which the devotee seeks God, brings that final God realization. Yes. So these different forms are the different blessings from the Supreme Being, the Supreme Person, Brahman, the ultimate. The different incarnations, different stories, different forms, all this is Brahman's blessing, Narayana's blessing. Just names, Supreme Being. This should be attested by the scriptures of the cultures. Those that are reliably scriptures. This is one of the benefits, the advantages of India, because it has the scriptures that have been attested over and over and over through time. So this is advantage. Krishna says, "But you cannot see me, Brahman, with your present eyes. Therefore, I will give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence." All is Brahman and only Brahman exists, all else is an illusion. Only God exists, all else is an illusion. Illusion in a sense that the purpose of life is not sense pleasures, because the real source of bliss is God himself. All is Brahman, all is God, meaning Saguna Brahman is that Nirguna Brahman. Bliss is also a word for pure love, Shuddha Prem. In Bhakti, it is a sweet path that starts with love and ends in supreme love, in bliss. Real Jnana and real Bhakti are ultimately the same realization, God realization, and self-realization are about the same union of the ultimate reality, just the means and steps differ in the beginning, but eventually narrow down to the same end. So all paths leads to God. Eventually, if God is the one who's being sought at and not deities, elementals, angels, and all these different divine manifestations, but not the Supreme Being manifestation. So light beings and all these things, they are good, masters and whatever, but we are talking about the Supreme Being, that which grants liberation. Okay.
Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva tvameva bandhushka sakha tvameva tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva.